Me and my brother Shane are making a 3D multiplayer dungeon crawler called Gloom. Since last devlog we added a completely working randomly generated dungeon, characters, chests, hella items and synergies, reworked the boss, and made a whole bunch of other stuff. You have to open it.
Wow.
Now, a month ago our game looked like this. It was just a platform where enemies spawn. After a couple of minutes the boss would show up out of nowhere, and the only way to get items was by clicking on their cubes. It was basically a dungeon crawler without the dungeon. So how do you actually make a dungeon? I guess you start with the rooms, right? For any 2D dungeon with uniform tiles, there's 5 categories and 15 different types of rooms that can generate. That basically means any combination of dungeon can be made with some combination of these 15 tiles. But instead of making all 15 rooms, we can take just one from each category and rotate it to match the other ones. So technically, we only have to make 5 rooms. Okay, for attempt 1 we ended up with this. The rooms generated, but they weren't accurate. Okay, attempt 2. Alright, not bad, but these rooms are looking kinda empty, so let's spawn some enemies. Where are the enemies?
What the dog doing?
So, all the enemies spawn in the test area instead of in the actual dungeon. We basically just gotta make sure that the enemies spawn after the dungeon's made. Alright, easy fix, the enemies actually work now. Alright, now to complete the gameplay loop, we just need a boss, and after you kill it, the dungeon resets. The dungeon always spawns the boss room in the dead end furthest away from the spawn, but we don't want the boss room to just be a normal room. We want it to be a separate arena, like this one for example. That way we can make it much bigger than a normal room, and customize it more. So for now, in the furthest room from the spawn, we have a cube, and when you press it, it starts the boss fight. Alright, I don't know why it's posted up like that, but the game is basically done. We have a dungeon, enemies, a boss, and this is good and all, but the game looks, you know. So first I'm gonna talk about the evolution of the character. First thing we did was gave the player arms and a gun. Now this is an improvement from the bean, but it's definitely not what it needs to be. So Shane made our first playable character called the Stalker, which you can watch the short if you want. You just have to know he has a role, a special ability called Mark, which makes enemies take more damage, and a cape, and he looks sick. He also made another character called the Tormentor, which is our melee character. Now for the dungeon, we decided to fill up the rooms. So we made a bunch of walls and pits and stuff, but the dungeon was still pretty boring, and more importantly, it was uninspired. So after some research, we found Unity Pro Builder, which is a plugin that lets you prototype maps really fast. And with some inspiration from some Pinterest photos, we made some more interesting rooms. Alright, this is a pretty good prototype for a game, so now let's import some assets. I made some low poly trees and rocks in Blender, and then put them into Unity. I also painted this skybox for a previous game, so I decided to make it red for like a blood sunset type of vibe. Then I changed the lighting to match. Now this looks gloomy. Wait, say that again? Now that the game is pretty dark, we decided to add some lanterns to our players. Hey, look at that, you could actually see each other now. Alright, the game's turning out good, but as we were playing we noticed that we would just end up running to the boss every time and there was no incentive to actually explore the dungeon. So what's the point of the game? Well, you want to beat the boss, but you do that by getting as many items as possible. Right now there's only 3 ways to get items, one of them being from chests. And to keep things interesting, we made multiple types of chests. The first is just a normal item chest. You open it and you get a random item. Now the second one is called a burial chest. This one requires a key to open. Keys randomly drop from enemies. And some items, like the skin sigil, increase key drop chance. So once you open the chest, you get to choose from 3 random items. Now the next one is called a ritual chest. The less you take damage as you explore the dungeon, the better items you get.
Oh, okay, try not to get hit so we can get better rewards. I got hit. I'm hit! I'm getting lit up, bro. Why is this room surprisingly hard, bro?
And the last chests are just supply chests. They give you heals, keys, good old-fashioned consumables. Every floor, one item chest will spawn per player, and one burial chest and ritual chest will spawn regardless. So now you want to explore the dungeon to find all your chests, but you can find chests on the way to the boss, so it's not really incentive. So the second way to get items is through the shop. For now, it's just this weird floating sphere. Now enemies drop shards, and you can spend the shards in the shop. But just like the chest, you can find the shop on the way to the boss, so it's not really a reason to explore the dungeon. So we thought, what do dungeon crawlers force players to do to want to risk their lives to explore a dungeon more? And that's when we decided to make secret rooms. Now secret rooms are so valuable because they pull from the secret room item pool. Special items that you can't get anywhere else in the game. Like this witch's eye, that completely randomizes all of your items. So to make secret rooms, I made this secret room prefab and attached it to every single type of room. Now every floor, one secret room spawns. Unless you get our only tier 5 item, the unmarked grave, which spawns an extra secret room. So that's basically how we transformed our game completely in 1 month. We really want to make a dungeon crawler where every run is completely new, and the game is completely multiplayer so you can play with your friends. We have about 50 unique items, 4 enemies, and 10 rooms, and we plan to add hundreds of each. So if you want to keep following our progress and play this for yourself, consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next devlog.